As an ex-Muslim, I am often told that I have left Islam because I want to sin. That Islam introduces logical limitations that we just cannot accept. We ex-Muslims want to be able to do whatever we want, drink and eat whatever we want, wear whatever we want, have sex with whoever we want. It's true that many of us ex-Muslims do enjoy some more freedoms after leaving Islam. However, it's an absolute myth that we don't want limitations. We just don't want your limitations. Islamic limitations are insane, but our limitations make sense. Unlike Islam, I think it is wrong to have sex with children. Unlike Islam, I believe it is wrong to rape women captured in battle. Unlike Islam, I think it is wrong to beat your wife when you fear that she may disobey you. Unlike Islam, I think it is wrong to kill people simply because they lift your ideology. Unlike Islam, I think it is wrong to celebrate a global mass slaughter of Jews. If you think Islam doesn't teach any of these, then call and embarrass me in front of all the people here, because the show is starting right now.
Welcome everyone. Today is March 17th, 2024. I'm your host, Secular Rarity, and joining me today is the atheist Ayatollah himself, Armin Navabi. What's up, man?
Hey, Ayatollah or Mufti, depending on whether you're or a Shia or a Sunni. Maybe right. Mufti or a Sheikh, yeah. What brand of Islam are you?
I figure we'll just keep changing it up every time. I think last time we were on together, I called you the Murtad who knows more than your mullah. So I'm just going to keep coming up with that.
Yeah, that was good. These are good. I like these. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love being on here and talking about Islam because, we just don't get to talk as much about it here in the US, and it is also wrong and bad. So it is good to put that out there. But before we go too far, folks, let me tell you, you're watching the Atheist Experience. That's right. The Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And as always, we are here to have good fun, talk about epistemology and logic and all of that stuff. And kind of giggle a little about some of the really, really dumb stuff about religion, which we're gonna tell you about last week's Share Your Experience, because some of you may not know this, but we actually don't know a lot about Jesus in like the early years. We get the baby, and then we get the dying on the cross version, but we never really hear about what happened during his teens. So last week we asked you wonderful people, what was Jesus doing in his teens? Wrong answers only. And we've got some good ones. So number 3, we've got from Solinum 756 saying during his teen years, Jesus was learning how to utilize his wood. He was a carpenter, after all. I think that's what they're talking about, right, Armin? They're talking about carpentry there, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It
can't be anything else.
Couldn't possibly be any other reference there. Yeah, I mean, as a former boy in his teens, I can say I also very into carpentry. Number 2, Thomas Anderson 8446. What was Jesus doing in his teens? Social media influencer. He's got so many followers. That's really good. Yeah, I would love to see actual Jesus on TikTok, just like turning water into wine or making clay birds come to life. That was the coolest thing Jesus did. It's not canon, supposedly, so whatever. Number 1, Juan Carlos Nunez 5051 says Jesus in his teens was working out to nail it at CrossFit. I love that on so many levels. I really do like the thought that like Jesus was one of those people that just never shuts up about CrossFit and like how important it is and stuff, and is just constantly being like, yeah, well at my CrossFit, like my trainer, like he does this, and like, I don't know. I like to think that if Jesus were alive today, most of us would be really annoyed by him. But thank you all so much. Go ahead.
I don't think if Jesus was alive today, he would want to do anything with crosses involved at all. I think he would be surprised that his followers have crosses everywhere. He's like, this traumatizes me, right?
Right.
You know what they did
This is literally the worst day of my life, you guys. You understand that, right? You just a really terrible event. Yeah. Although, here's what's coming to mind now, right? CrossFit, right? Like imagine you've got like, obviously don't nail your hands to the cross, but like you've got like bars spread out and you're doing like reverse crunches. That probably would be pretty good for your core. I mean, like pull-ups and stuff. I mean, anyway, he was shredded at the end from what I've seen. But anywho.
Yeah, he does. They should have made him more skinnier to make it believable. Too much muscles. Most of the statues have too many muscles. Yeah.
Jesus is often depicted way too good looking. Yeah, it does not make. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They couldn't even eat pigs back then. Where were they getting all their? It doesn't matter. Anywho, those answers were great, and I gotta say, I always love the answers that we get. You, our wonderful audience, are just very creative and very funny, and you can all take that to the bank, or I don't know, whatever. Just put it on your wall or something. Anywho, we have another prompt for next week, and I like this one. I think this one is really good. There's some good examples here. So for next week, we want your answers in the comments below the video. The question, well, not really a question. Name a time that God unfairly blamed someone. So Armin, I'm going to you first. What can you think of? A time that God unfairly blamed somebody?
I was going to go with the traditional answer everyone goes with, Eve being blamed for the apple, given that God just puts it right there in the middle, like obviously knowing what's going to happen. That's the first thing that comes into everyone's mind. But I was talking before the show to Elliot, and I decided to give an Islamic version of it so we could use it as an excuse to introduce maybe more people to Islamic ideology. And I was thinking, because both in Christianity and Islam, and also we do have the idea of God wanting to, the devil not submitting to God at some point. Like, do you guys have this is part of Christianity as well, right? That the devil used to be somewhere like it's a fallen angel. Basically, it was somewhere higher than before, before it became the evil guy, right? So we have that in Islam as well. However, in Islam, the story is a lot more detailed. The specific reason why the devil is fallen is because there was a specific command by Allah that he did not follow. And that command was that God asked all the angels and all the jinns to bow down to Adam, the first human and the first prophet. And the devil disobeyed, and he did not see a human worthy of bowing down to. And that's when God, basically threw him out of heaven, and he was fallen, and he was condemned to eventually be burned in hell for eternity. But he asked for a permission to actually be given a chance to basically make humans, lead them astray and all that stuff. But here's the thing. I have been, as an ex-Muslim, I have been thinking about that story, and it's very unfair for God to blame the devil for that and condemn him to hell for not. Yeah, because the most important, Elliot knows this, right? What is the most important principle in Islam above everything else? What is the concept? The Tawheed,
the oneness of God.
The oneness, and God being the only entity worthy of worship.
It's a big
deal. That is the most fundamental part of Islam. And what the devil did, God is going to be punishing. The devil became evil, and God sees him worthy of eternal torment because he disobeyed Allah. And what was the command? To worship, to bow down to something other than Allah. And the devil said no. So the devil is being punished for being a proper Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the devil is more Muslim than all other Muslims, because many Muslims, they worship Allah because they understand that if you don't worship Allah, you go to hell. And if you worship Allah, you go to heaven. But the devil was so Muslim that he didn't care about the punishment of hell or the rewards of heaven. He wanted to worship Allah and only Allah, even if that meant that he will go to hell. He followed Islam not because of the reward, but out of principle. He did not worship, he did not do shirk. The greatest sin that you could do in Islam is to worship anything other than Allah, or to share something in worship with Allah. And the devil did not do that. And he's the evil guy. He's saying, I will remain a Muslim even if I have to pay for it with hellfire, for eternal hellfire. So Islamically, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, go on.
Well, I'm confident, Armin, you know, with all of that you just said, really striking at the heart of the, you know, illogical nature of Islam, you know, the totally backwards and stupid actions of Allah as presented in the Quran. I feel confident with everything you just said. Our phone lines will be inundated with good believing Muslims that are going to stop the corruption that you and I are bringing to the Ummah worldwide. I know that is what is going to happen, because we know that there are good, true believing Muslims out there. Of course, if none of them call and correct us today, maybe Iblis is the only true Muslim. Yeah. Maybe,
or maybe they're just coward. Here's why they don't call me. Because here's why Muslims don't call this show. Because they listen to this show and they're like, ooh, I have to call in and show how wrong Armin is about Islam. And they listen to me for 2 minutes. I'm like, this guy's too good. This guy's too strong. I'm going to make Islam look bad. If you put me in front of Armin, Islam would look, I would embarrass Islam. Okay. This guy knows his stuff. And that's why I don't call in. You're basically, they're scared. They're scared of me. That's why they don't call.
Wow. Strong words to start out. But the good news is, folks, we have open lines, and it's very easy to get a hold of us, 512-991-9242, or visit tiny.cc/callaxp. So if you think we're wrong on any of this, you know how to get a hold of us. But anyway, I love that answer. I think that story in Islam is such a good representation of the lunacy, I think, of just how of how it's just like, oh, this religion doesn't make sense. The guy who created everything and then made the commandment about not worshiping anything but me turns right around to all the angels and jinn and is like, hey, go worship this other guy real quick. Like, not forever, but it's very silly. Very silly.
It's silly, but it's also pretty romantic, because the devil is like, I love Allah so much that between the command of Allah and Allah himself, I choose Allah, right?
It's the greatest love story
like,
ever.
I love you so much, I'm willing to burn in eternity of fire for you. Like, that's true love. That's passionate love.
Way better than what is it, Rama and Sita? Way better love story than that. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Right? That's a horrible one. If you don't know what we're referencing, just go look it up. Hinduism also has bad stuff, just in case you're wondering, folks.
Yeah, we should make fun of that one day.
We could do another episode. Yeah. We could do it. We could do it. Just make people angry all over the world. But just a reminder, the prompt for this week, don't put it in the live chat. I see you right now. You're about to type your answer in the live chat, and it's probably a good answer, and probably a lot of people will like it. But put it in the comments below the video, because that's where we choose them from, and your comment might be selected for next week. So make sure to tune in at the beginning. So name a time God unfairly blamed someone. Unfair blame from God. It happens. It does. But even though we've got some wonderful calls stacking up, I am excited for all of these people on hold. So thank you so much, all of y'all, for giving us a call. Hang on just a few seconds, because we have a couple of super chats already, and I am going to read them. And this is a good reminder that if you've ever wanted to get Armin or I to say something kind of silly, live on air, all you got to do is send a super chat. This is a great way to do it. We've got $5 from Rainbow Wolf saying, people spend more time picking out new shoes than what to believe. Be different, be skeptical and caring. You live only once, so make the most of it. I freaking love that, Rainbow Wolf. And I know you are always here hanging out and you always have such great things to say. So I am glad to have you here. We've got a new member, Isaiah S. sent $5 and said, if there's a hell, will atheists be doomed to an eternity of listening to the pre-sup argument misquoted? Honestly, that absolutely screams hell to me. That is absolute torture for eternity. Then we've got $5 from Manny saying, just wanted to say thank you guys for helping me through my deconstruction. Your work is a globsend. Keep it up. Well, thank you very much, Manny, and congrats on making that journey. I know it can be difficult. So Samuel Zayas sent 50 SEK. Is that Swedish krona?
Swedish krona.
Okay.
Kronas or kronas, I think, right? Swedish.
Either
kronas.
way, it's Scandinavian money. If God created male and female in his image, Genesis 1:27, isn't he not a he, but a hermaphrodite? Yeah, there's a lot that the theists have to answer for there. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the Bible with sex and gender, and yeah, it doesn't tend to line up to what a lot of the evangelical, hardcore, right-wing Christians say. But that's for them to figure out, because I'm pretty confident this God has no image because it doesn't exist. But we've got $4.99 from Avian saying, quote that changed my life. Most callers need to hear, if you can't make a sound argument for both sides, you don't know enough to have an opinion. I think that's always good. Always learn the other side's arguments and be able to steel man them. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Somebody in the live chat is confused. They're saying that they thought that Swedish people pay in fish. But yeah, no.
we will not disparage or make fun of any other country or their peoples, except of course for Canada, because we're here in the U.S. and we gotta make fun of our
Hey,
yeah, that's why. That was the real reason.
Every country except Canada. You got it the other way around.
They are so sweet. I've very rarely met a pissed off Canadian, although it does happen for sure.
I get pissed off all the time. What are you talking about?
Well, that's true. You do. You do.
Hey, you forget I'm Canadian. I get pissed off every half second.
That's true. That is true. But we have some wonderful calls. But first, I real quick wanted to grab this screenshot, because there was a time not long ago I was on this show and I was talking about something that I think is a really, really important topic. And this individual had a comment that they wanted to bring up in response to what I said. So if we could get that screenshot up there. So this was in reference me talking about the fact that, God, for instance, the Bible, for instance, many believers, as an example, believe that the mutilation of children's genitals is an acceptable thing. And so I, in my opinion, very rightly called out the absolute disgusting nature of that practice. And this was what the individual had to say. They said, really? These are the types of things atheists consider to be important issues? This guy has far too much time on his hands. Well, let me tell you, commenter, I don't have too much time on my hands. And here's how you know. Because if I did have too much time on my hands, this absolutely atrocious and fucked up practice would be universally abolished and recognized as the torture that it is. So if you believe, whether you're this commenter or not, if you think that the mutilation of children's genitals is something that I should be less concerned about, you know how to fucking call us. So why not do it already and stand up for that very, very disgusting opinion? Yeah, Armin, any thoughts on that before we grab a call?
First of all, somebody please get Elliot more free time, because apparently that's the only thing that is stopping us from being able to ban this thing globally. That's amazing. Also, I'm going to say I'm going to go further than you, Elliot. I'm against mutilations of children in general, like whatever it is, any body parts, like not just genitals. Like, by the way, do you think these people would think that this is a waste of time if it was any other body parts that we were mutilating? Like, what is it that if we were cutting a finger off, there would be there would be global outrage. If there was their nose or their ears or anything like a toe, they were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing, you monsters!" But all of a sudden, when it gets to the genitals, people are like, "Yeah, go ahead.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah. So why?
Yeah. No idea. No idea.
Maybe it's religion, I think.
Yeah, it could have something to do with a really stupid ancient book. Jury's still out. But again, we've got open lines, and I'm confident there are some people out there that are going to defend it, because if there weren't those people, why the fuck would we still be doing it? It's absolute barbaric practice. But yeah, so again, if you fully believe that talking about the mutilation of children is not something to spend your time on, well, just call us, because we will gladly dissuade you from that opinion. Until then, though, we do have some wonderful calls, and I am very, very excited to take them. So let's get right into it. And we are going to go out to Ohio. We are talking with James, is a theist, he, him pronouns, and wants to ask us some questions, it sounds like. Hey, James, you're on Atheist Experience with SR and Armin. What is up?
Hi. So I didn't expect this to be like... So this is like... Can I ask questions that are unrelated?
Of course.
To what the topic was?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's your topic now. You choose the topic now.
We'll rein you in if you get too wild, but I'm not expecting it.
Okay, do you guys think that atheists have more questions that need to be answered, or theists, Christians in specific?
Christians.
What kind of questions?
That's my answer.
I mean, related to God, yes. In general, I don't know. I don't know what the global average of the number of Christians is between Christians and atheists.
That's a fair distinction, Armin. Yeah, just like in general about life itself, I don't know. They're probably about the same, but specifically when it comes to religion, yeah, definitely the Christians.
Yeah, I mean, atheists just have what unites atheists when it comes to their position on God is just like one. It's a very simple thing, right?
Right.
If there are any other, if atheists have more opinions or questions beyond not believing in God, that is not necessarily anything to do. Like, that's not necessarily part of their atheism. That's just part of being human and having questions. And you see that with atheists, Muslims, and Christians. But atheists, James, do you know an atheist is basically somebody who just lacks a belief in God? Do you accept that, or do you accept that definition?
Yeah, that's the definition of an atheist. An atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in God, but I was just wondering, because I mean, like, with the Big Bang and stuff like that, I know there are some Christians who believe exactly what I believe, who believe in things like the Big Bang, and just like, how could that stuff come from nothing? Because I mean, like, the Bible clearly says, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, that's time, God created the heavens, that's space, and
but you're already accepting something that isn't necessary to accept, right? So if you take away some of those assumptions that the Bible brings you, then some of these questions that you think need to be answered don't actually need to be answered, because the questions aren't relevant to begin with. But go ahead, Armin.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so James, let me know if this helps. Okay, in general, I think that Christians or believers, theists and atheists, have almost on average, if I guess, have the same number of questions on average. However, it is true that theists have more answers. Okay. However, are they the correct answers, right? People that don't have the God did it answer as an option, they are probably, if you are saying that they have less answers, it's true. They are probably more likely to say, I don't know, to certain Christians that theists would say, yes, I know, I have the answer. So the questions, the difference between the number of questions, I don't think atheists and theists are any different. But when it comes to answers, I do agree with you. If this is what you're saying, that if the claim is that theists have more answers, that is, I think, true. However, having more answers is not necessarily a good thing, especially if they are the wrong answers, right? It's better between having a wrong answer and not having an answer. I would choose not having an answer. So there's three options you could have here: having the correct answer, having the wrong answer, not having an answer. So the best one here is having the correct answer. The second best is not having an answer and saying, I don't know. But the worst one is having an answer and being the wrong answer and thinking that is the correct answer. Do you agree with that?
So are you saying
prioritization?
You can give a rebuttal, or just because you can give an answer doesn't necessarily mean it's right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Do you agree with that, James, yourself? Like, yes, if we say that the theists do have more answers, but those are not necessarily, do you agree that those are not necessarily the correct answers? They could just be wrong answers. Do you agree with that? It could be the wrong answers.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I don't think that they are. I mean, I understand what you're saying, just like when it comes to like answers and stuff like that. How just because I can give some sort of rebuttal doesn't mean it's the right answer. Like,
right, because James, there seems to be a lot of theists seem to me that they just see value in having an answer rather than not having an answer. They think this is a superior position. So if you have person A saying you have a question and person A saying I don't know, and person B saying I know, here's the answer. A lot of theists think like, okay, the person B is in a superior position. And that's why a lot of theists were like, isn't it good to have religion? Because religion provides you with answers. But this is with the assumption that having answers is a good thing, not realizing that those answers could be wrong, and that is not a superior position to be in.
And so often, well, hang on a sec. So often I find that the answers, quote unquote, that are given by the religious actually bring up so many more questions, right? So the answer to the question of where did everything come from is God, right? That's the answer. The problem is now we have to ask the question, what is this God? What are the attributes of this God? Well, then somebody can give me the answer there, and they say, well, this God is all powerful. This God is all loving. And I go, well, how do you know that? How do you demonstrate that? And the questions keep coming. Whereas oftentimes, not exclusively, of course, though, oftentimes a lot of the answers that are given on the non-religious side don't have those extra layer of questions. Like, hey, I get that, like, a quantum scalar field and the vacuum, a false vacuum state and all that shit. That's confusing and it's weird and it takes a while to like wrap your brain around and stuff. But it isn't ultimately stuff that is still a question mark. It is actually an explanation because it has expanded the idea in such a way where it is made plain, made known to us. That doesn't happen oftentimes when we get answers from theists. It's just, well, it's a soul. And it's like, well, what the fuck is the soul? How does the soul interact with the brain? How does that work? And so when you get answers from the religious side, I just feel like they just have more questions.
Well, like when you said, what are the attributes of this God? And like you were talking about, like, you said, well, how could the universe come from nothing? Are you also like implying like maybe like where did God come from also?
I mean, that can be something in there, but I don't even think it's necessary. I don't even think you have to go to that space. I just feel like you need to demonstrate why this God would have the particular attributes that you've laid out as opposed to the infinite other options. The problem is not necessarily, what the attributes are, but why they're not something else. Because then what you have is you have some type of constraint on this entity that is supposed to be unconstrained. It's the same thing when somebody comes up and they want to talk about how God can do all things, right? And then you ask if God can do anything illogical or that violates the laws of logic, right? The vast majority of people that are in this space on the theist side now won't take the bait. And they'll say, well, no, of course not. And then they'll just alter their language to say maximally powerful, maximally knowing, and so forth, right? But again, that still doesn't really answer the question. It just doesn't put you into the pitfalls of you have an entity that somehow violates logic. Because if you're just going to bite the bullet and say, well, my God is illogical or can be illogical, well, then it's like, oh, cool. You've just basically argued for the non-existence of your God, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think what you're also like, I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but like when it comes to like why choose this among the infinite other options, pretty much, I think then we'd have to go to like, because especially when it comes to like trying to prove God, and I know that I've seen like some shorts from your guys' show where you guys will like ask for like maybe not like necessarily scientific evidence, be like, okay, you said that, but like now could you like demonstrate or something like that? So like I think we'd have to go to the Bible before we could like try and prove God.
Why
with,
would
like,
you go to the
science or something
Bible?
like that? Because
why would you use the Bible as a method to
like,
demonstrate God?
because we'd have to prove the Bible so that we can know what the Bible saying is true. Because if God is an immaterial being, you can't use a material method to prove it.
Well, hang on. Let's hold off on the immaterial aspect for a second there. But yeah, because the Bible says all this stuff about God, yeah, if you're going to utilize the Bible as a way to demonstrate the existence of God, you probably need a solid foundation about the truth of the Bible. Here's the problem with a lot of that. What would you do? What would you do to prove or disprove or give us any type of indication one way or the other as to whether or not a man named Abraham once took his child up to the top of a mountain and attempted to slaughter him in broad daylight, only for an angel to appear to speak to them both and say, "Nuh-uh, don't do that. God was testing." What would you do there? What
Let's
demonstration
see what James
would
has
you...
to say.
Yeah.
Let's see what James has to say. James, how would you figure out that the Bible is true?
So, like, are you talking about just using that, or just like the whole Bible in general? I mean, like, I don't think you.
Any example?
Like just whatever you think is. Give me your best.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the best way that we could demonstrate that the Bible is a good source of, the claims can be verified, or I don't know, that is whatever it says is true.
Well, when it comes to like science, like scientifically, or just like trying to prove the Bible using like something like that, like observing, like maybe the area like where these things took place. Some of these things like the miracles of Jesus, because like the Gospels are some of the most important places, or some of the most important writings in the whole Bible. And the miracles.
So James, you're saying because Bible refers to places that actually do exist, therefore all of its claims are true?
No, because I could say that New York is a real place. The Spider-Man exists. I mean, of course, we don't see evidence of Spider-Man, so I guess you couldn't really say that. But that's not what I'm
good. So you understand? Okay, so what? So you are saying? So you were just saying that the Bible refers to real historical places. Okay, so but you gave us a great examples for that. That's not a good way of showing that the Bible is true. So what is the point then?
No, well, it wasn't. I don't think I got to finish what I was saying. Though, was that some of these things that the Bible mentions, like the miracles of Jesus, which the Bible says, which would prove he is God. I'm saying, like, we would have to probably prove the crucifixion. And so I'm saying, like, we could study these areas where it supposedly happened.
So.
No, not the crucifixion. Not the crucifixion.
I don't think we have to go anywhere else. Yeah,
I'm completely willing to accept that there was a guy who was crucified. Okay, that's not very significant. Okay, the part that you need to show is the main part of the story is after, where he's raising from the dead. For sure.
But neither of those events in Jesus's life has anything to do with whether or not rubbing mud and spit into a person's eyes cures blindness, right? We don't need to be worried about whether or not Jesus died and rose again 3 days later, right? We don't need to worry about that at all when it comes to curing leprosy, right? What could we do to demonstrate whether or not that miracle as presented in the Bible is more or less true? Is there anything that we could do?
How about we stick with the resurrection, because he was about to provide us like the resurrection, yeah, or any of the other miracles. But here, James, we will give you, me and Elliot will give you this. We will give you that he was a real person, that this is a book that refers to historically places that actually exist. This guy was crucified by the Romans, okay? All of the parts that could have, like, there's no abides by the laws of physics as we know it and biology as we know it, we will grant you all of that happened, and those parts, the parts that the Bible is referring to, are completely accurate. Okay, let's assume that. Okay, can you tell us how can we verify that the miracle parts, like for example the raising from the dead or the miracles that Elia just referred to, can you figure out a way for us to verify those parts?
Well, usually, like, this is what I was saying, because, like, when it comes to trying to verify it, and, like, if we were, like, go to that area itself, because you could say, oh, well, there's writings, but then again, like, how do we prove those writings? So if we were, like, try to find some evidence of, like, maybe say archaeological evidence that says clearly almost, like, this is it, this couldn't be anything else, like, that'd be kind of hard to do, like you were saying, like, the mud.
Well, do you have
that,
any? Okay, do you have any of that? Do you have anything that shows us? Do you have any? Give us a verifiable evidence that any of this happened.
Well, I mean, we do have the places where, no, I'm not saying like archaeological evidence, but we do have a tomb that is said to be it, and it's in the exact right spot. But also,
that doesn't tell us anything. That doesn't tell us any. That doesn't tell us that that Jesus rose from the dead.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If you were to make this up or something like that, so, you said granting that this is true, but I'm just saying, like, would you make yourself, if you were to make this up, though, would you make yourself look bad, or would you make yourself look good?
First one.
Bad to make it believe, some bad and some good to make it believable. Mix of bad and good.
It's a standard tactic used in communication to large groups of people. You humble yourself in front of the crowd so as to make yourself seem more on their level, even though you're clearly on the stage with all the laser lights behind you. It's just a standard tactic that we as humans have utilized for literally millennia.
Also, given that some of these events are based on reality, as we accept it, some of the parts that look bad was because in reality, bad things happened to them, right?
Yeah.
So
and
there
also,
because the story, we are not claiming that the story is completely made up. We're claiming that the story is partly made up. And given that part of the stories are real, some of the things that are embarrassing, it could be because the story is based in reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think
so
something that would be... Go ahead.
So, like, the main part that we're trying to prove here, like, the main thing, like, because the resurrection, not just, like, the crucifixion, because, sure, he could have been crucified, but, like, the resurrection, because him rising is what would show that he's true. It even says in 1 Corinthians 15:14, for if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless, and so is your faith. So even the Bible admits that if this event has not happened, then we're us as Christians, not you.
But how is that embarrassing? But it claims that it did. But it claims also that it did happen. So what's the problem here? But here, James, before we say anything, do you honestly? Do you think that you have mentioned anything that actually shows that Jesus was resurrected? Like, honestly, do you think like anything you say or have said is convincing for anybody to believe that the miracle parts of the Bible are real? Like, honestly yourself, I just want to know, how do you evaluate your arguments here yourself?
I was just saying that would be, since some of these things were smaller, they weren't like huge global events, that finding some specific thing that would prove 100% or like would be hard to find.
We're not asking for James. We're not asking for 100%. We're asking for enough evidence to make it justifiable to believe in it, right? Many things that we believe in, we don't have certainty. We just have enough evidence that it makes sense for us to believe in it. That's all. We don't want 100%. We just want any source of evidence that will make believing in it justifiable. It's definitely going to be below 100%. How about this? If you could give me above 50, I will believe in it. You don't have to get me to 100%. Just give me above 50. Do you have any evidence that could give me above 50?
Beyond a reasonable doubt?
No, not beyond reasonable. No, I'm just saying above 50%.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just get me to 50.1%. Okay, can you get me
Right.
there? I don't need you to get me 100, not 99, not 80, just anything that is more likely true than not. How about that?
You're right.
I am still studying, but I will do the best I can because like I'm only about almost 16, but I'm still studying this stuff. But I think that we can show, like I was trying to say, like about how it would kind of make somebody look back, especially since like the tomb was found by women. But then you guys said that that is a tactic that we've been using for millennia. Make yourself look bad. You humble
So
yourself.
women were the
and
ones
like
who prepared the bodies at that time. So of course women would be the first people to go see a dead body because the women were the one in that area of the world who prepared the dead bodies for the funerals. So that
Also,
that wouldn't be embarrassing.
Also, James, Elliot and I are not saying these are the explanations, okay? We're just saying that there are many. You haven't exhausted all other possible options. You act like, oh, this happened. How could it be this? How could it not be this? And when Elliot is giving you these other options, it's not to say that this is the reason, but to demonstrate to you that you haven't demonstrated that the option that you're giving us is the only viable one, especially because yours requires supernatural. We could sit here and come up with 1,000 different explanations, for the next 10 hours. Okay, we could come up with explanations without any of them requiring the laws of physics and biology to be violated. Right. So you have an option. Here's the thing. I will admit this. Your explanation could be true. Okay. It's just not as likely, given for that to be true, everything that we know about how the universe operates needs to be wrong for your option to be the correct one. Right. I could come up with a million other explanations, none of them requiring that. Do you see why we consider your explanation unlikely?
How do you know that like the supernatural can't happen? Like you can't rule out technically, though. I mean, like what?
Well, I didn't rule it out.
Hang on,
I did not rule it out. I did not rule it out. I specifically said your explanation could be true. I just find it unlikely, given that we have observed the universe and it seems to be operating in certain ways consistently, okay? And it's very unlikely for that to all of a sudden be violated over here. Did I say it's impossible? No, I did not say. You know what? You also saying it's very unlikely because you called it a miracle. That's a definition of a miracle, for it to be extremely unlikely. So you are giving me an option that by the definition of the word miracle has to be an unlikely event. And you're asking me how likely is it for an unlikely event to happen? And I will answer you unlikely.
Yeah.
What?
And hang on just a second, James. I just muted you for a second. So one of the things I've heard you say kind of repeatedly, and I think it's worth thinking about this framing. You said to Armin, you can't rule out the supernatural. But the question you need to ask yourself is, why are you ruling it in to begin with? What information has been given to you that makes this supernatural a viable option? Because I believe very much so, and I think Armin is right there with me, that when you investigate that information that you are utilizing as justification for ruling in the supernatural, what you'll come to find is it doesn't actually give you that justification. And we've been going on for a little bit with you, James.
But I want to say something to James.
Okay,
James, I want to say that you are doing a good job. Like, I don't want to make you feel bad about asking these questions, okay? Totally. You are investigating whether your opinions, your views are correct or not, okay? So I might be like getting emotional and passionate here and but I just want to congratulate you for feeling that you need to go and talk to people who disagree with you and to consider their opinions about your opinions, okay? That is something that needs to be celebrated, so I want to congratulate you on that.
Absolutely, and I wholeheartedly second that, James. And so please give it, give it another week or so. Give us a call back. I know Armin and I will be on again before too long. So yeah, go listen back to this after it gets posted, and listen to those specific questions we were asking about, why you're justified in this conclusion and so forth. And give us a call back, man, and talk with some more on it, because really, I thought this was a really great call, and again. Very much agree with you, Armin. I'm glad you said that. It is awesome. I think you were on the right path, James. So thank you so much, brother. And we're going to let you go for the moment. But we have more really good calls. And you know what, Armin? I'm not going to say any one of these damn announcements. I'm just going to grab another one. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Too bad, because it doesn't matter. I don't care what your opinion is. I'm the host. We're going to John, no pronouns given in California, is a theist and wants to talk to us about how Jesus Christ is the devil. So, hey, John, what is up? You were on AXP.
I'm interested. Okay. I might be a fan
thanks
of
a lot
Jesus
for having me on the show.
Yeah, what you got for us today?
Well, to start off, man, you got to look at the parables. I know that atheists don't like to go into the parables, but in order for me
to
prove
I
to
love
an
the parables.
audience, well, good. Okay. 22:13 of Revelation says, "I am the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end."
That's a parable, but
What does this parable say?
Yeah. I'm
Excuse me?
disappointed.
Not a parable.
that is not considered a parable. That particular reference is not in the slightest by any biblical scholar, as far as I know, considered a parable. But despite
You
that,
can say once upon
I'll
a
let
time
you.
God said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and that would make it a parable.
Yeah, but parables are specifically, as far as I know, and please, if there are any scholars or anything out there, please eviscerate me on this. But as far as I know, the term parable is specifically used for the supposed or, words of Jesus that are written through the Gospels, in which Jesus was actively using a not real story to teach a message to his followers. That's the only time that parables are actually used. Like Moses talking to the Israelites is not a parable. But I don't know that it's terribly important. What were you saying about the parables? Why do you like them so much, I guess?
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me to expand on that.
Sure.
Anyways, so Jesus in this parable, if it's not a parable, however you want to say it, in this revelation, I should say for you, says that he's the Alpha and the Omega. What does this mean? The Alpha is the first letter of the Aleph, which is the Hebrew alphabet. The Omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet. So it's telling you that these two parables, this language that they speak in Israel, Jerusalem today, is not the true dialect of the Hebrew audience. The first is the first of firstborn. Jesus is the firstborn. He's also the last. He's the last supper. What's the firstborn? The firstborn is 1 Colossians 1:15. For the Son, Jesus Christ, is the image of the invisible God, firstborn over all creation.
John, hang on a second. John, hang on.
Wait,
I understand
we don't
what
understand
you're
what's
saying.
going on.
Yeah, I know that you want to continue. No. I understand that John is protesting and wants to continue talking. But the reason I'm stopping you, John, is because I looked over at Armin's face, and his face was very similar to the look on my face, which was just one of deep confusion. So I'm not at all following where you're going with this. I'm not at all following what you're talking about. Yeah. Speak to us like we're five.
Give me a second.
And lay it out.
Give me a second. Okay, 13:18. Here's a call for wisdom. Let the one with insight calculate the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and his number is 666. This parable exactly is speaking about the man that's created on the sixth day of creation in an image of God. In Genesis 1:27, it says, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image. And in the image of God, he created him, one the man, male and female." This is where you get your he's and thems, because if you pop over to Genesis 5:2, this is where you're talking about they in the day
so wait.
created.
So what does
I
this,
muted you,
John?
John.
And
Are
this
you
proves.
following?
Okay, I got it completely. Got it. This makes complete sense. And the conclusion is that Jesus is what?
Yeah, so I'm going to unmute you again. Armin said he's following. What's the conclusion from all of this?
The conclusion is it's a riddle. We're supposed to be finding out who 666 is. It's telling us that it is a beast. All right? So who's the number?
And who is it?
Jesus Christ is 666. Let me end with this. Jesus is the beginning. What is the beginning? The beginning is time. What is time? 60 seconds, 60 minutes, and 24 hours in a day. And it also says that Jesus is the Word. Jesus in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is supposedly Jesus once again. When you add,
but we got it. We got it. We got the point. So, so are you saying that Jesus is the devil? Are you saying that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you got to understand.
Who's the Antichrist?
Okay. No, forget the Antichrist. And the devil is the one. Do you also think that the devil is the one who is like lead us astray and like tries to get us not to obey God and give in to our sins? Is that the devil also, or is that a different person?
The devil is the first man that's created in the sixth day of creation. That Revelations 13:18 has everything.
That's not my question. My question is the devil also in your ideology, in your belief system, is the devil also the guy that leads us into our temptation and makes us sin, or no? Is the devil the good guy here or the bad guy?
Well, as we're taught, he's supposed to be the bad guy, of course. I'm still trying to get to the point here.
So you think the devil is the good guy?
If you haven't gotten to the point yet, John, I just have no idea how we're going to figure that out.
I don't believe that the devil is the good guy.
Okay.
Okay, so is the devil the bad guy or the wait? So the devil is the good guy or the bad guy?
Confused.
Jesus is the devil. Okay. He's the bad guy.
Okay, so Jesus is bad.
That's what I'm saying. Jesus is 666. That's what I'm saying. You keep cutting me off. And I'm trying to tell you that when you add the sum of the word,
you're taking James. John, you're taking too long. We have other callers. I'm trying to get to the conclusions. So Jesus is evil, and he's the devil, and God. Okay, so explain so Christianity is a religion of the devil?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks.
What is the true religion? So what is the true religion? What do we have to do?
There's one supreme creator. Okay, you have Elohim, you have Eloheka. All of these gods, El, are of a plural of Eloah. Eloah is gods in the ordinary sense, but specifically used of the supreme creator. This is where people are getting lost. They don't understand that there is a lower dimensional God that created this plane of existence. Satan created this plane of existence, and he trapped us into this our souls in the flesh. Look, what's the definition of an image in the Bible? To shade a phantom. It's an illusion. It's a representative figure.
John, can you?
John, I got you muted again because you're just rambling.
No, this is great. Can you email this to us? I want the access to this because we don't have time to go through all of your evidence. I just want this because we atheists often ask Christians, how do you know that Jesus was not the devil, right? And we just make that as a, exercise, just to show that they don't have evidence for either way. But now we actually could provide like all these guys investigative research to make our case even stronger. But this is very interesting because Elliot, I don't know if you know this, but in early Christianity, there was an idea. There were Christians who thought that Yahweh is evil and Jesus is the good guy, and Jesus and Yahweh are not the same person, and Jesus is trying to save humanity from the evil Yahweh, and that's how they demonstrated. That's how they explain all the differences between how the Old Testament and the New Testament, because the personalities of Yahweh and Jesus seem to be so different. and Jesus was here on earth trying to save us from this evil. So now we have a guy that is saying the opposite, that the God is good. I mean, the Father is good, and Jesus was the devil. This is new to me. I've never heard. Here's the question: is he still online, John? Are you still online?
Oh yeah, I just had him muted. I'll unmute you again, John.
I want to know how come nobody else has figured this out. Like, I don't want you to provide me with the evidence and the numerology and all that, because you're going to email that to us, okay? We don't have time to investigate this right now, but send that to us, and we will definitely have a team to go through all of that, okay? Like, we will have experts and math experts and everybody to come and investigate that. So send that to us. We will have a team on it. But just answer this question. How do you explain the fact that this seems to be a truth, that you seem to be are the only one, or one of the few people that have realized this? And why would God make this puzzle so hard to solve that only you have? I've never heard of this before. Like, you are the only person that has managed to solve this puzzle. Didn't God make this puzzle too hard to solve, given that you're the only one to have seemed to be figuring it out?
Mm-hmm.
Brother, if you knew how deep the 666 system went, I'd blow you away. When you add the sum of mankind, it comes to...
That's not my question.
Mankind,
that's not my question.
Right.
John,
Look.
that's not my question. Hey, John, that's not my question. My question was, I didn't say, like, tell me how deep this goes, okay? I did not ask that question. My question was, why is this puzzle, given that God has seemingly been giving us a puzzle for us to be able to find the truth, why has he made it so hard that only John from California has been able to solve this puzzle and no one else? And what are you going to do? Like, how are other people supposed to figure this out? Like, why isn't the puzzle? Don't you agree that the puzzle has been made too hard, because there's no religion around this, there's no sex, there's nothing.
I gotta say, I have always valued your deep level of desire when it comes to searching for knowledge. And I'm just not sure that this well is going to yield anymore. So I am letting you go, John, and I appreciate you. But do what Armin said and write all that shit down and send it to us. I don't think it's going to require the level of analysis that you think it might, Armin. But I do love your...
ACA has a team of experts standing by, just waiting for this evidence to be sent.
Man, I gotta be honest though, man. There wasn't a lick of that sounded like coherent information being presented, especially when he started off by naming Revelations as a book of parables. That was the start of it for me, and I was like, okay, this guy is just connecting. I
told you how to make it all parables. Just say, once upon a time, and then whatever you say after.
It makes it a myth story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I apologize. I just after 5 minutes, I was like, okay, no, I'm done with it.
Okay, let's go.
The good news is we have other good calls, and I'm excited to take them. But before we do, I'm going to tell you that if you go to atheist-community.org, you can find these really cool printable call-in flyers, and you post these with permission to community bulletin boards in your area, so people know that they should call our show and defend their faith. And hopefully we will get some good calls and not strange connections from the book of Revelations to Adam to 666 and seconds and minutes. And that really got me. I'm just gonna be honest. The 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours. I was like, wait, why wouldn't it be 60 hours? And that's just like kind of a silly convention that we made. It did. Anyway, yeah, go ahead. Say your thing.
Can I nerd out a bit just for 30 seconds? Do you know why there's so many sixes in ancient ways of in calendars and minutes and seconds, and there's sixes everywhere?
An easy divisible number?
Yes, you got it.
Easy to break shit up.
Yes, because it's divisible. If you had 360 is divisible so many times. Now it's if it's 10, if it's based on 10, then 10 divided by 5, then 2 is 5, and then 5 you can't do anything with that. Right. It's just really But 6, you could just keep dividing things.
Convenience. That's why. It was just easy for them. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes good sense. Yeah. I mean, Not all of the things that were done in the past, folks, were brilliant revelations. Some of them literally were just because it was like, well, here we are. We got to do something. So anyway, we got a couple of wonderful super chats from you amazing people. Dark Wolfie Games sent $2 saying supporting a command for Armin's universe farting turtle. So we have presented that message now to all of our wonderful mods and so forth, and maybe we will see it in the future.
May I announce something?
Yes, please.
My farting turtle god is now a tattoo on someone's leg.
That's awesome. I love that.
So for people who don't know, we have Russell's Teapot, we have Carl Sagan's Dragon in the Garage, right? We have the Flying Spaghetti Monsters and as unfalsifiable gods. And I propose a farting turtle in a parallel universe whose fart was so big that it basically started the Big Bang that started our universe, right? And there's no way that you could verify this because it started in a parallel universe that we cannot reach.
Russell's Teapot.
I keep
go ahead.
Russell's Teapot. Armin's farting turtle. That's right. So that is. I've been giving that as an example so often that some guy on our show, a person that watches our show now, has that as a tattoo on his leg. That is the greatest achievement of my life. Okay, nothing else will trump.
You heard it, folks. If you really want to please Armin, now you know. I can't tell you all to go get tattoos.
Give me turtle emojis in the live chat.
Turtle emojis in the live chat. Yes, spam it out. We've got $10 from Fate of Silver saying something to say to James. The Big Bang is not a claim that the universe came from nothing. It is about the rapid expansion of the universe from the Planck time. Theist claim universe from ex nihilo. And I would just agree with that. The only people I have ever heard make that claim say that God made the universe from nothing. So what they actually say is not the universe can't come from nothing. What they say is the universe can't come from nothing without God. The universe did come from nothing. God is real. So that's really what they're getting at there. But either way, we're moving right along because we've got Quantum Answer sending in 200 Czech krona and has been a member for 2 years. So thank you so much, Quantum Answer, saying nothing is possible by default. Possibility needs to be demonstrated. By saying that supernatural is possible, he deems supernatural not impossible, who has demonstrated that supernatural is indeed not impossible. Yeah, and that was kind of in the vein of the point that I was making. If you want to say, oh, you can't rule out the supernatural, the problem is, how are you ruling it in?
We have not even made as much progress to even understand to define supernatural.
Right.
I never even understood what the hell it means.
Right. That's right.
Every time somebody says like there is a supernatural, like, okay, if it exists, how come we don't consider it part of nature? And I've never gotten an answer to that question.
Right. And that was why, like with James, I think James brought up immaterial something. And that's why I was like, whoa, let's put a pause on that. Because that opens up a massive, massive door. Like, describe anything that's immaterial. Like, just give me any description whatsoever of immaterial things other than the fact that they're immaterial. And it's like, I don't know. Nobody ever seems to do that. So somebody, give us a call, tell us, and maybe we'll change our minds. You heard Armin. Armin's bar is actually pretty low. He only needs 50.1%, you guys. That's not a lot. Like, you can do this. Come on, Theists. But we've also got Marika. Marika sent 269 Swedish krona saying, the both of you are amazing. Thank you for all the work you do. The kindness you present is wonderful. Well, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. We also have a super chat, $5 super chat from Miranda Rensberger, who has been a member for 2 months, saying, I think Armin needs to cuddle his adorable dog after that call. I agree. And actually, we just need to find a way to just get you to show your dogs on every AXP show.
I only hug them when they come knocking at my door and ask me to, like, seriously, like sometimes they miss me hugging them, so they come and knock on the door, and basically they just say like, we need hugs. That's what they're saying. So if they show up, I will bring them up.
All right. Well, start praying now, folks, and maybe we will get to see Armin's adorable puppy dogs. Final super chat before we grab another call. We've got $10 Canadian from Grim Scar Fane saying, I want Armin's God-eating penguin as a t-shirt. Well, I will kick
Yes,
that up
that's
the
an-
chain to all the wonderful people that make that happen, and we will see. But until then, we are going to grab another call. Let's go out to Minnesota. We're going to talk with Mark. Him is a theist and has some philosophical evidence for God. So you are in the right spot, Mark. What is up? You're chatting with Armin and SR.
Hey, thanks, you guys. First of all, I think you guys are great. I really appreciate what you're doing. You give some very thoughtful commentary on things. And totally the purpose of my call is not to say, here's why I'm right and here's why you guys are wrong. I really
We're okay if you want to do that, though, Mark. Like, that's all right. Come out swinging, bro.
That's okay.
No, but I can't. I would if I could, but I can't. So, but anyway, I guess I want to make a couple of points before I make my grand statement. So I would say, everybody's talking about proof and prove this, prove that. Well, I would argue that the proof of something only exists in a person's own mind. I mean, if you look at a flat earther and say, what's the proof that the earth is flat? And they say, well, just look at the horizon. It's straight. So that proves the earth is flat. Well, that's proof to them, not to many other people, but it is proof to them. But we talk about these objective proofs, and I mean, we can talk about evidence and, generally accepted things and so on and so forth. But ultimately, I would say that the proof of something exists in a person's mind. Would you agree with that?
No. And here's why. Because you don't utilize that in your daily life. There's no fucking way that that's how you live your life, Mark. And I don't mean to say that in like rude or anything. Oh my God, that's an adorable dog. Sorry. Armin just got his puppy and it is very, very cute. So definitely go back and watch this later, Mark. But no, I get kind of the general attitude that you're presenting, and I've heard it a lot from people. And I think ultimately what most people are really meaning when they say this is more something along the lines of like, I can't force anybody to accept the evidence that's right in front of them. And yeah, I completely agree with you, Mark. But like, for instance, just total serious question, not no gotcha or anything, but like, do you own a car?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, cool. So the proof of you owning that car and me believing that, right? Me accepting the proof of the car in your name versus like there actually being an object that is considered a vehicle of some kind that is technically in your possession. Those are totally separate things. The me accepting it and the belief part of it, like, yeah, man, technically at the end of the day, you can't force me to change my beliefs, You can't just tell me over and over again, I got a car, I got a car, I got a car, I got a car. Seriously, man, I have a car. Like, yeah, ultimately that accepting thing comes down to the individual. But the proof as to whether or not you actually have a car is not something that deals with me at all. It doesn't have anything to do with my state of existence. It doesn't have anything to do with my mental, beliefs or anything. It just doesn't, because that car is a separate entity from both of us, right? Just like 1 + 1 = 2, no matter what you and I feel about it, no matter whether or not you and I are around to even see it, right? So it's like, yeah, you technically need a person to come along and codify it by writing it all down. But that's not the reason that it is the case that 1 + 1 = 2. Does that make sense? Any of that?
It does to an extent. So first of all, I will mention that the 1 + 1 = 2, the actual proof of that was attempted by Bertrand Russell in his, I believe it was the Principia Mathematica, and he was not able to prove 1 plus 1 equals 2 until like page 300 and something. So most of us
proofs are only a thing that actually happens in mathematics. But what they're talking about when they say proofs and what we're talking about when we say proofs are different degrees of it. When people are saying, when the average person, a non-mathematician, is talking about proving something, what we're talking about is a demonstration of information so as to lend justification to a conclusion. That's what we're talking about. The idea of like 100% certainty does not exist, and the only time you really get close to that is math. And just like you said, yeah, even in that, it's kind of difficult. So we're just using. Yeah, go ahead. Hang on. Give Armin a second to chat. He's got his puppy on his lap.
So in when it comes to looking for evidence, we don't try to look for evidence to prove anything. That's a word people use. When we're looking for evidence, we're trying to make it reasonable to believe in something, make it justifiable to believe in something. So we're making the probability of that high enough for it to be justified belief, right? So when we prove things, that's in logic or in math, when we prove something that is like 100% with certainty, right? But people use the word proof in science by mistake. Like in the scientific methodology, when it comes to using induction, we only get to a certain amount of probability for us to be just like, okay, we're justified to believe that. Right now, we haven't proved, maybe like, let's say, for example, we haven't proved that 1 plus 1 is equal to. That it doesn't matter. We're justified to believe in that, right? So these are two completely different worlds. The world that has proofs in it, and the world that we look for evidence. So as soon as you talk about evidence, that means that you are out of that mathematical world. You're in a new world that we are just looking for the probability of certain things being true. And for pragmatic reasons, once we get to a high enough probability, we just treat it as if it's true. We don't care that we haven't gotten to 100%. So you called. And it says here, I'm saying that you said that I think I have good philosophical evidence for God. Mm-hmm. So I want to see that evidence. And again, we don't require you to get us to 100%. If you could get us to a high enough probability for God to exist, even before 100%, it will be justified for us to believe in it. So you don't need to like prove it like the way that mathematicians are trying to prove certain formulas for us to be certain about it that is true. Do you have enough evidence for it to just make it likely that God exists? I don't need you to show me that God is definitely real. I just need you to give me any evidence that makes it likely that God is real. Do you have that?
So what I have is a methodology to getting to it. And so here's my methodology. If there is a God, so can I take one more brief aside just to make the point a little bit more relevant?
Sure.
Okay. So I would say that atheists believe in God if you define the attributes of God broadly enough.
Yeah,
and I would say,
nonsensical.
Here's an attribute. The attribute I define is that which is responsible for me being here. So that attribute is incredibly broad.
Okay, so there's a
everyone would agree that.
Yeah, hold on.
Go
just
ahead,
a second,
I'm sorry.
Mark.
I'm talking over you.
No, it's okay. There's an issue though, and here's the issue: is that if you're in the boat of looking at something, a conclusion that you accept already, and you're saying, man, gosh, this is so tough to get people to also get to this conclusion. What if I water this down to the point of almost being indistinguishable from any other thing in the world? Do you see why maybe that conclusion just isn't well-founded to begin with? Because currently what you're telling me is, hey man, I believe in a God, and not just any old God, a specific God with specific characteristics. And then you're saying to me, now to get you to this place, the first thing I'm going to have to do is completely change essentially all of the important attributes of this deity and water them down to such a vague and mundane concept that everybody would agree with. That makes me feel like the conclusion isn't well-founded, because I don't have to do that when it comes to getting you to accept that I have a car, for instance, or that Armin has a dog. You know, everybody would believe that Armin has a dog if we say that the characteristics of dog are just some type of living entity that may or may not have hair and sometimes make a noise that sounds like woof. Like, yeah, sure, but that could also be 1,000 different things. So we've done absolutely nothing for clarifying, and that's the most important part. Do you kind of see where I'm coming from with my objection? I don't know why in this process. Go ahead.
Can I?
I
After this,
I
can I have
absolutely
some
see where
time
you're
with Mark? I
coming
want to ask
from.
him some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. I absolutely see where you're coming from, and you are actually incorrect, because I am not trying to steer you down into any particular set of attributes that God possesses. It's a deliberate watering down of the definition of God so that I can present my proof in a meaningful way.
Okay.
Yeah. I still feel like my objection holds, but go ahead, Armin.
Yeah. Well, let's figure this out. Okay, Mark. What is God? What is God?
God, according to my definition, is that which is responsible for me being here. So it could be the universe,
I believe in
a
God.
mindless.
Fine, Mark. I believe in your God. I believe in God, and it's your use of language is, I think, useless. Okay, your God, exists. Your God exists, but this is something special. You know, I could say like, hey, this here, I have something showing there's a cube-shaped thing that I'm showing in the camera. I call this God, and now I say, well, God exists.
Yep.
I have said nothing special here. And also, you're using the word God in a way that most people don't use. So you did two things here. You made a claim that is not very significant, that nobody would disagree with. If you're saying anything that is responsible for us being here is God, well, those things exist. You haven't said anything special, and it's basically a waste of time even making that claim, because there's not much opposition to it. That's the first thing you did. The second thing you did is that you misused the word God in a way that makes communication difficult. Words have utility based on the way that they are used. Okay, the more we use definitions that other people are using, the easier it is for us to communicate. That's the whole purpose of having words, for communication. If you use words in a way that other people don't use it, you're making communication difficult, and that's what you're doing.
Okay, I actually agree with everything you just said. You are completely right, but I wanted to properly lay the foundation for my proof of God, so to speak.
Okay, well, hang on, Mark, because
We
we will
agree
make sure that we give you the right amount. We'll do this absolutely right. We have a 60-second timer, and because I know how wonderful our crew is, they will have that up and ready to go. And by the time I am finished speaking to you, we will give you a full uninterrupted 60 seconds to make your case. But once that 60 seconds is up, we will cut in. Okay. So, but you will have a full minute starting the moment you start talking.
Sure.
What's the point?
Right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my proof is, or my method of finding proof is, if God does possess the attributes of hearing us and responding to our requests, and if the proof of God is something that can only be made to us personally, then if we ask God to prove himself to us, if he can't do that, if we ask God to prove himself that he's real and that he hears us and that he answers us, and he doesn't do that, then we're blameless. God cannot, at the end of Judgment Day, if he exists at all, and does judgment, he cannot say to us, you didn't do the right things, because we asked God to prove himself to us and he didn't. Correspondingly, if there is a God who is capable and understands how to prove himself personally to us, and we ask him to do that, I think he would do that.
Okay.
That's my.
I would just say, Mark, based on the things you just said, and I'm not here to say you're not a true Christian or anything, Mark. Definitely not. But I am here to say what you just said, brother, sounds a hell of a lot closer to what a lot of atheists say than what a lot of believers say, because I know a bunch of Christian rebuttals to this. Oh, well, you know, I asked for God to demonstrate himself and he didn't. So like, I'm not blameless. No, see, you are blameless because God has already written it on your heart. The natural revelation of God's existence is all around every single one of us, and we should accept it. That's what at least is claimed by some people who wrote some books of the Bible. So
I have a concern though,
yeah, go
because
ahead.
regardless of whether or not what Mark said is true or not true, it had nothing to do with what he said he was going to do. Like he was going to provide, it was completely irrelevant. Did you? I mean, I don't know. You're talking about whether or not it would be fair for God to punish us or not punish us. Did we just change this? Did I fall asleep? Did we just change the subject? Did I just had a
you're right. You're following
because
along.
I thought we were supposed to hear proof for God.
No, you're following along, right, Armin? It's just
we just switched the topic all of a sudden.
Kind of. I mean, instead of it actually being like a philosophical argument or anything, it was essentially a test that Mark has devised to say, hey, look, you know, if certain things are true, then these things should follow. And unfortunately, while I, you know, in some aspects of it, I can agree with you, Mark. Like, yeah, if there really is a God that like has the ability to do stuff and like, you know, wants to do this stuff, then he probably should do the stuff. And if we don't see that happening, then yeah, that's probably a good indication that you know, at least one of those attributes isn't true. But it doesn't ultimately prove or disprove either way, because
it's not even relevant to the topic.
Right. Again, it is ultimately something that's just a bit of an aside as to whether or not, because again, at the end of what you said, you know, on the flip side, if there really is this God, then like, I think he would do it. And that's like, yeah, that's what all the believers say. But for some reason, we just don't have that. We just don't have that demonstration.
It's just interesting to me that while we're trying to prove God's existence, we just go on and talk about how we would think this God would behave. Like I don't understand. Like, hey, let's see if X is real. Okay, I think X is real. Okay, give me the reasons why X is real. Well, I think X has these characteristics and it would behave this way. Like,
right. Yeah, we're talking about building codes for a species of Martians and talking about why they decided you can't have residential and commercial mix. And it's like, wait a second. Did we even establish that there was living creatures on Mars yet, guys? Like, are we? And we haven't even established. Yeah.
And also, we haven't even established. You said like God is anything that is responsible for us being here. Okay, well, those things exist. There are reasons why we're here. But all of a sudden, we come up with he and this thing that gets angry, that judges us, that can do things, that has a personality, that has human character. Like you just all of a sudden just assumed a whole bunch of things. Like we agreed that thing that you call God exists, but all of a sudden we just jumped to something that we haven't established that could have any of those things that you just attributed to it. All of those things, I don't know. I'm just confused. I just think like we missed like 1, 2, or I think 2 million steps all of a sudden in the middle.
Real quick though, before we grab another call, Mark, with you here. I mean, if you're willing to do it, I will right here, right now, directly ask God for the proof. I'll do it. I'll bow the head and everything if you want, if you're willing, if you're into it, Mark. You want to do it? Armin, bow your head. Will everybody bow their heads at home for me real quick?
Everybody
Dear God,
who's watching, everybody.
Dear God, Oh, Heavenly Father, if you could please provide us lowly and fallible atheists with proof of your existence, we would greatly appreciate it. And we would, of course, cease all of our blasphemous and heathenous ways and join you in heaven forever, as is supposedly our wishes. In Jesus' name, this I pray. Amen. All right, guys. Anybody?
That went a little above
Okay.
and beyond what I was proposing, but
Well, hey, if it went above and beyond, God should easily be able to meet. Oh, hang on. Oh, no, sorry. That was a spider. Never mind. I thought I saw something at the corner of my eye. I didn't get anything.
Also, I
Armin,
wanna
did you get
mention-
anything?
I was watching everybody. Brent was not with us when we were praying. Brent in the live
Brent?
chat, you were not with us.
Brent, what are you
Yes.
doing? You could have fucked the whole thing up, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second.
and I
This
just
just
I just want to be
this just
clear.
in. Hang on just a second, Mark.
Can I
This
just say one more
in.
thing before?
We got a message from God himself. God has taken over our chat here. God is here. Look, folks, underneath Armin and my name, this is God, and God says, make up your own mind. Thanks, God. Thanks be to God. All right, Mark, we'll let you end this out, brother.
All right. Just wanted to say I was not saying this would happen.
Sure.
I was simply saying if God possesses those attributes, they should happen. And if
agree.
they don't happen, then I think it's very fair. And I'm not saying they will happen. I'm just saying if they don't happen, I think it's very fair to say whatever the attributes of God are, they aren't these. So that's all I'm saying.
Or maybe those are the attributes of God and that God just doesn't exist. It's always possible there too. But either way, thank you so much, Mark. We're going to grab some other calls. I had a good time with this one, and I hope you didn't mind us teasing a little and having some fun. But it was a good call, man. And please give us a call back in the future. I always like good calls, man. I always like good conversation. Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised that didn't work. Did you think we were going to get proof from God himself? Did you think God was going to show up?
I didn't think so, but to be fair, I've tried this sincerely before.
Yeah, me
So,
too. I know, me too.
Yeah.
It didn't, spent a lot of time and, not much. Anyway, we have both a couple of super chats. And,
Okay, wait. We have to do something. Somebody is asking if they could get off their knees. Yes, we almost forgot to tell people.
oh my
that they
gosh,
could
I'm so
get-
sorry.
get
Yes,
off-
to all of our wonderful congregants out there, please, no longer prostrate yourself in front of the
Good
Almighty.
thing we remember
Yes.
that. Imagine if
Yes.
we ended the show and we just left everybody.
We just
like
left
that.
everybody. Well, they'd be for sure to go to heaven then. They'd just like die praying. Just like, I don't know. We can't go. Yes, you were all released from your magical spells and whatever. So
Right.
Tony Walden is a new member and sent $5 and said, "There's a God-eating penguin. I'll get that as a tattoo for sure." If you end up getting that tattoo, Tony, please do send us a picture. We've got an email. We've got all kinds of places for you to reach out to us. So yeah, we would definitely love to see that. And maybe we could get a God-eating.
Okay, but the God. I just want to clarify: the God-eating penguin will not eat my farting turtle.
Oh, okay.
Because my farting turtle does not identify as a god.
Oh, because you're. Oh,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. That
Because
adds.
he
Yeah.
never,
What if
he
a god
never
doesn't
intended to
call
create the
itself a
universe.
god? Huh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It wasn't an intention.
Yeah, I'm also
There's no
thinking about
intention.
now the last time I farted and whether or not a universe was created out of it. I hope not. That was a small elevator. So anyway, let's see. We've got $10 from Anna saying, "Atheist Day is coming up, and I want to make an Instagram post, but I am afraid of losing friends and connections. Any advice? I live in Florida and work for the Mouse, so my circle is very Christian. Armin, do you have any advice for that?"
Wait, can you read that again?
I sure can.
Yeah, I'm gonna make
Atheist
sure I
Day
get
is
it. Yeah.
coming up, and I want to make an
wow,
Instagram
yes.
post, but I am afraid of losing friends and connections. Any advice?
Oh, that's very sad. Well, can you, for Atheist Day, can you send me a message on Twitter, and instead of you posting it, if you think that the consequences are too much, on Atheist Day, I will read that message out loud on Atheist Republic and say Happy Atheist Day on your behalf to our audience on Atheist Republic. So on Twitter, you could search for me. My DMs are open. If you want, like, you could celebrate Atheist Day like that. By the way, guys, March 23rd is Atheist Day, so don't forget to celebrate Atheist Day. If you're not an atheist, please go to an atheist and say Happy Atheist Day. And, so that would be, a nice thing you could do, all right? But again, guys, Atheist Day is important. Thank you for bringing this up. Guys, Atheist Day is an important day to celebrate because the purpose of it is to show to the world that we are a lot of us out there, and they need to recognize that they're living side by side with us and that they need to share the world with us, okay? So please, this March 23rd, celebrate Atheist Day in any way you can. But please stay safe. And also, especially if you're living in a place where it's dangerous to be an atheist, please find ways that you could do this without heavy consequences. And thank you for giving me an excuse to talk about Atheist Day. March 23rd, everyone, don't forget.
Coming up for sure. And yeah, the only thing I would say, Anna, is I am always in the position of telling people how grateful I am for being as lucky as I am to have this ability to speak openly. The truly brave people around the world are people we will never know their names because they are actively fighting this fight in a place where their lives are on the line. Their financial stability is on the line. If you find yourself in any of those positions, my suggestion is always don't say anything. Don't say anything. Keep yourself safe, okay? That is always deeply important. You are more valuable to this community and to the world as a whole, silent and alive, than you are vocal and murdered for your beliefs, okay? Now, you say you live in Florida, so, they're a little bit better than a lot of other places around the world, of course, but my suggestion would just be evaluate who you might lose, the connections that might be broken because of this, and just weigh the pros and cons and ask yourself, is this, are some of these connections that I'm comfortable with losing? Are some of these connections, connections that I am safe if I lose? Because if the answer to both those questions is no, my suggestion is going to be as anonymous as possible. Now, of course, you can always, just like Armin said, you can always take a picture or post something, celebrating Atheist Day and just do it anonymously. So, but yeah, be safe.
And guys, for the people who it's easy for them to be atheist, okay, and say that they're atheists with little consequences, that's why you need to celebrate Atheist Day for the people who can't. Okay,
that's right.
Because the whole point of Atheist Day is to normalize atheism for people like this that lose their friends and connections, and some people who are not even safe to say they're atheists. The more atheists stand out and announce that they're atheists and tell the ones that is safe for them to do so, the more you're helping other people be able to say that they're atheists, not having to hide it. So it's important, every single one of you who is an atheist and is living in conditions that could say that they're atheists with little consequences to you, please do so, because you're making the world safer for atheists by normalizing it.
Absolutely.
Come out and tell people that you're an atheist.
Absolutely agree. And we've got a $5 Canadian super chat from Halo Master 1243, who has been a member for 2 months, saying, "Love you guys on the show. I'm so glad I was able to catch the show today. It's been fun. Love you both till the end of time." And then a whole bunch of hearts. Well, thank you very much, Halo Master. I know I've seen you hanging out with us a whole bunch, and we just always love people that are here all the time and enjoying and making this community even better. Wait, I gotta say this. Hang on, folks. Don't go anywhere. Stay where you're at. Okay, we're gonna take a call in just a second. Josh, we are coming to you, brother. But before, I need to tell you that sometimes there are things going on in the atheist community of Austin, and we have a website that is dedicated so that everything that's going on. www.atheist-community.org. You can learn about the organization itself, its policies, and how you can get involved. We are always looking for more volunteers. And we already have such a wonderful group of them, but we do need more. We do indeed. Let's grab another call, Armin. We are going to talk with Josh. Him in Montana is a theist and thinks it would be helpful to consider Jesus as an ancient psychologist. That's really interesting, Josh. I haven't heard of that. I don't know if Armin has either, but what you got for us today?
Hi. So what I have, I'm here to answer your prayers.
Hey, my man.
Great, thank you.
You're already doing better than God, Josh. Just letting you know.
So I think that let me put a thesis out, and then you can ask questions, or I can defend it, and that might be quicker. So the thesis is that the character of Jesus. I don't want to get into the historicity of it. Like it could be just a character. So let's leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
The character
I like where this is going.
Might be someone who is in the ancient world realizing or has realized a very deep truth about human beings. And that truth is this. Although right now it's very common for us to say, I'm a person having an experience of the world. What this guy found out was that because of the nature of sense perception, that it is also true to say that I am a person having an experience of the world, and I am an experience of the world having a person.
That's not a good psychologist. That might be a good thing. A teen going through like a crisis and writing stuff down that seems deep, maybe like more relevant to that. A psychologist is somebody who comes up with.
This is an This is an anatomical truth. Like this is why anesthetic works, is because our waking experience of the environment is happening inside of us.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. This is what you're saying is something that people have been talking about since ancient times. Like the Greek philosophers had more detailed and deep thoughts about the nature of consciousness and observing the world and us being part of it or it being part of us. This is not something. If Jesus was this person that was saying stuff like that, he was just basically reflecting thoughts that people have been thinking about for many, many years before him and just repeating them. Is that what you're saying? Josh,
you still there?
This is not that deep. That's what I'm saying. If he was saying what you were, if he was saying what I think he was saying, it's not that deep.
Well, the second part sounded to me like a deepity, which is a term that Daniel Dennett coined, which basically is like a statement.
What do you think he's saying?
A statement that has two meanings, where one meaning is like trivially true, and the other is like profound seeming, but actually nonsensical. Like the universe having the experience of a person doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because you're anthropomorphizing the universe.
Is he saying the entire universe is having an experience of a person, or part of the universe? Because it's true that part of the universe is having an experience of being a person.
But I think that phrase in what we're actually trying to get across is still a deepity. A part of the universe having an experience as a person is trivially true on one side of the meaning, and on the other side it is nonsensical, because you're ascribing an attribute to the universe as a whole that doesn't make sense. So Josh, are you still with us?
The universe is only partly experiencing itself. It's not wholly experiencing itself. Do you agree with that, Josh? Most of the universe is not experiencing anything.
I don't even know that I would say the universe is a part of the universe is experiencing a part of itself. I think that's just muddying the waters in a way that's not necessary.
That's just poetically talking about something that is true.
Well, I'm not a fucking poet.
I mean, me and you are part of the universe, and I'm experiencing you, and you're experiencing me. So part of the universe is experiencing another part of the universe, and it might be like it may be too poetic for your taste. It's fine. You don't have to be.
I'm not cultured
Okay.
enough. That's honestly the problem. I
Right.
do think we
the point
lost
is
Josh.
that most of
Go ahead.
we lost Josh. But the point is that most of the universe does not experience anything. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what like the right. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I don't know. It seems, again, it just seems to me like we're.
I think
Go ahead,
because of like talking poetically have been misused by religious people a lot
Yes.
to be able to justify a whole bunch of nonsense. Some atheists have now an allergic reaction to poetically talking about the universe.
It raises my sensors. It does. It does a little. That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's
I
fine
just
to be poetic sometimes.
Yeah,
It's good. It's
I
totally
agree.
fine,
But I think when we're trying to go for
yeah.
clarification, right? Being loose with our words isn't the best way to do it.
Yes,
you know, we should
I agree.
really.
When we're trying to come up with actually, maybe we should be poetic after we come up with conclusions.
Yes.
Not before. We shouldn't be poetic while we're trying to come up with conclusions. We should first come up with conclusions and then after be poetic about it.
Yes.
I'm
a fan of that.
Good.
I like that. All right,
Good.
guys. Armin and I just solved all the problems in the world. We may not need to do this show anymore, but you know, just in case Armin and I are wrong, make sure to tune in next week at 4:30 Central Time. We are going to grab another theist caller. We are going to Michael, he, him pronouns in California. You are on the Atheist Experience with Armin Navabi and Secular Rarity. What is up, Michael?
Not much, man. How y'all doing?
Good.
All right, cool, awesome.
What you got?
So I wanted to discuss why I think it's reasonable to believe in God.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, and so basically, the basis of my argument is this: I think it's reasonable to believe in God because belief in God has always been a part of our human existence and will likely continue throughout future generations.
Okay, stop right there.
And
pause right there, Michael, because I think what you've given us already is super, super, super great. Okay, so I am going to counter with something that is going to seem like it's a little bit rough, and I'm doing that on purpose.
Okay.
Rape has always been something that has been a part of the human culture and most likely will continue on into the future. Therefore, rape is right. Do you feel good about that?
No.
Yeah, me either, man. Because your argument is a flawed methodology for coming to conclusions. Your argument of we've been doing it for a real long time and it's probably going to keep happening no matter what we do. That is not a good justification for a conclusion. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, that does make sense.
Cool.
But but it doesn't fully address the latter point or whatever that I was making as far as likely continuing throughout generations.
I think it does. I think it does because if currently what you're saying is right now people believe in a God, people believe a God exists, and most likely. And I agree with you on this. Most likely, there will be a little bit of that forever. If you insert something like, I don't know, Nazis or KKK believe that black people are inferior. They do now and probably will in the future. Does that give any credence to that ideology that is obviously stupid and inane and garbage and racist? I mean, I poisoned the well there, but I think we both are on the side of no, it does not lend any credence to that ideology. Just the same as it doesn't lend credence. Go ahead.
After Michael answered this, I want to ask him a few questions. Michael first answered that, and I have a few questions.
Okay. As far as does that lend any credence to it, I would say that it shows that it is a serious belief, that has implications upon.
Sure, but does it mean it's true
upon people? Well,
all right, so let me ask Michael. Let me ask the question then. Okay, so let's assume that your premise is true. Okay, God belief has been with us for a long time, and it's likely going to be there with us for a very long time in the future. Okay, why would that make it reasonable to believe in God? Go ahead.
That's the point that I wanted to get to, is how this belief is going to permeate and continue to.
I don't care. I don't care. No, Michael. I don't care. We already assumed that it will. Okay, we already assumed that it will. Okay, so you don't even need to convince me of that. We assume that it has been with us for a very long time, and it's also going to be continue being with us for a very long time to come. Why would that make it reasonable to believe in God?
Well, I mean, I think because I think that it is natural for us to want to believe in something that others believe in.
Okay, but that's not the same thing. Okay, okay, let's assume that's true as well. That's an appeal to nature, but I didn't ask you if it's natural or not natural. I asked if it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something being natural does not make it necessarily reasonable. Right. So why is it reasonable to believe in God? I mean, you know what? I'm going to give you that as well. Okay. Let's assume that it's natural. There's something naturally within us that makes us want to believe in God. Let's assume that it has been with us for a long time, and let's also assume that it's going to continue to be us for a long time. The question is, why is it reasonable? Because that's your conclusion. Why is it reasonable to believe in God?
Well, because of some of the benefits that would come with believing in God. In other words,
what are those benefits?
If you will.
Okay.
Wait, is that,
so here's the thing.
Real quick. Okay. Is that a good reason to believe in something, Michael? Is it a good reason to believe something is true simply because good things happen if you believe it's true?
I mean, depends on what the benefits, I guess.
Yeah.
I think despite the consequences of a true statement, whether or not the statement is true is still the case. Whether there are good or bad consequences to accepting the truth, I don't think that changes what the truth is.
Yeah, okay, Elliot, we might actually disagree on this, okay?
Oh, cool.
If there's enough consequences, okay, it doesn't change what the truth is, but it might change it's being reasonable to believe in a lie, okay? So
now that I could agree with, but I was asking about the truth itself. But yeah, I see the distinction.
But Michael is not saying whether the truth, he's saying it's reasonable to believe in it. He's not saying if it becomes the truth or not. So even if it's a lie, it might be reasonable to believe in a lie as long as the benefits from that belief is so high that believing in it would be justified. So tell us what those benefits are.
Yeah.
Okay. So Michael, you're saying there are benefits in believing in God. Okay. So you should have led with that, because if you could show me the benefits, I don't even care if the belief in God has been with us for a long time, or if it's going to remain with us for a long time, whether it's natural or not natural. If you could show me enough benefits for belief in God, and even if we could show that the belief in God is a lie, God is a lie, but belief in God is so beneficial that the benefits are so high, I would agree with you that it would be reasonable for us to believe in a God. Tell me what those benefits are.
Okay, and this is going to be a stretch, but this is something that was promised to believers, more specifically coming from the Bible. Believing in God, and more specifically, believing in Christ, means that one day we are going to live with Him forever in His kingdom in a glorified body.
Michael, I agree with you, Michael. I agree with you that if believing in God would get us that, okay, I mean, that doesn't sound very fun, but let's assume that that's awesome, okay? If we got such a higher, let's assume that that's a very high reward, okay? If believing in God would give us such a high reward, then I would agree that believing in God would be justified. But can you demonstrate that we will get that reward? Because that's a promise. That's just a promise. We don't know if it's true. We don't know if we will get it. Can you demonstrate that we will get such a reward?
Okay, so that promise is linked directly to the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which you guys have talked about earlier today. If Jesus Christ rose from the dead, was publicly executed, and rose from the dead 3 days later, then what he said to his disciples would also give them reason to believe that this is also going to take place for them. That because he was
not
raised from the dead,
necessarily, but I will give you that.
raised.
Okay, Michael, here's the thing, Michael, okay? Even if Jesus raised from the dead, that will still not be enough reason for me to believe what he said, okay? This guy might be just a very powerful magician or something. I don't know. But I'm going to give you that. Let's assume that if Jesus raised from the dead, then we will get this. That will be reason enough for us to believe that believing in God will give us that reward. Do you have enough evidence that Jesus raised from the dead? So far, we're just hopping from one claim to another one. We're just hopping, like there's.
Just that written promise is all that I can offer. As far as
nothing, okay. So I will write down. Okay, so here's the thing, Michael. I will write down right now on this paper in front of me. Do you want me to write this down? I'm not kidding. I'm going to write this down. That Jesus. Let me say Jesus will not rise from the dead. Good.
All right, it's there.
Okay,
we see it.
That's there. So now what? You have a piece of paper that says that he will rise and has never risen from the dead. Has never risen. Yeah. So let me make this complete. Risen from the dead before. Okay. So now I have it on paper. You have it on paper. How come mine is not good? How come your paper is good?
Well, because it stands in stark contrast to the eyewitnesses who reported this during his.
Oh, wait! I have you there. I got you, Michael. How many eyewitnesses you have? How many eyewitnesses you have? You claim to have? 500, right?
Historically speaking,
500.
over 500. Yes, over 500.
Okay, I will give you. I will do better. I will do you 500,000 people witnessed that Jesus stayed dead. You have 500. You have the claim that you don't have 500. You have the claim that you have 500. Okay, I have the claim that I have 500,000 people saw that Jesus remained dead. What do you have now? I wrote it down.
Wait. You have the claim that 500,000 people did not see Jesus rise.
Saw. No. I have the claim that 500,000 people saw that Jesus remained dead.
Remained dead.
He did not rise.
Right.
Yes.
Died, stayed in the ground, never came back.
For 5 days at least. They were there 5 days. Yeah, I have that claim. I wrote it down.
Which one has more weight behind it?
Well, if Jesus died and stayed dead, the least that they would do is preserve his shrine or his tomb because he was a relatively famous figure. So
except for the fact that nobody mentioned him. None of the historians
he was not famous.
Mentioned him. Nobody mentioned him.
He became famous. He became famous after.
Yes.
Michael, you don't know your Christian history.
He was an unknown apocalyptic Jew walking around that area yelling about God. Nobody knew him.
Yes.
Guys.
Few people do.
It mentions specifically the tomb that was purchased that was used by Jesus himself.
Where is
Joseph of Arimathea.
The tomb? Where is Arimathea?
Michael, these are claims.
Find me an ancient map that mentions Arimathea, and find me the tomb today. Until you have those things,
it doesn't even if you can find those. even if you had those, you still have nothing. You have
Yes,
no
I know. I'm
evidence.
just trying
that
to give him.
Okay, here's the
something
thing.
to play
Even
with.
if you had all of those things, okay, they claim that 500 people saw that he raised to the heavens or whatever. You only have that mentioned that 500 people saw it on a paper. That 500 number is just a claim that you could just write down. It's easy to write these things down. Do you guys know how easy it is to claim that I have 500 witnesses?
You did it right here, live on air, in front of 900 people, Armin.
Yeah.
900 people saw you do that. And you can go question them yourself.
There's two numbers. There's the number 500 and there's the number 1. Okay? Christians keep mentioning that 500 people saw Jesus rise, right? They don't mention that this is according to one person.
Yeah.
Okay? One person said that 500 people saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. And not a single one of the Gospels claims to be an eyewitness account, actually. That's a very common misconception. At no point in the Bible, at no point in the Gospels does it say, I, insert name here, am writing all of the things that I witnessed. No point does it do that. Luke gets close, but still doesn't even meet that standard. Unfortunately, Michael dropped, and I think in part it could be due to our amazing refutations. Or, it could be other reasons. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something, okay? I follow the news, right, a lot, okay? And with all the cameras and with all the, internet and social media, okay? People claim that so many people saw something today. And you go check it and it did not happen. All right. Imagine how and people believe in it. And even after you provide evidence that not only what they say did not happen, the exact opposite happens. Happened. But they believe it. Given now with the internet, with cameras, with reporters everywhere, right? With satellite imagery, with investigative journalism on the ground, there. People are so easy to believe something, and you're like, oh, so many people saw it. Like, oh, they did? Okay. And then it just spreads all over TikTok and Instagram the day after. And it's so hard to clean it up after that lie is spread. Given that that's happening right now, imagine the lies, how easy it was back then without all of this verification tools, how easy it was to just say something and it would just stick. And it would just, people would believe, like we're seeing this right now. People are like, how could people believe these things if there's so many people that said that? Like, it happens right now. Of course it happened back then also. It happened more back then.
Right. And then because of the fact that it's been around for so long, a lot of people just go, well, it's been with us for so long, it must be true. Yeah. Just fallacies on fallacies on fallacies. But you know what's not fallacious? Our amazing crew. That was a terrible connection. It is going to give me the option to talk about how amazing our wonderful crew is. Look at all of them deeply confused about that, thinking to themselves, what's wrong with SR today? Why did he do that? That was a horrible, horrible transition. And yet it worked.
It was so bad that it was good.
That's right. It was just so completely terrible, but I loved it. And it actually gives me an opportunity to read one of these screenshots. I've got this idea, Armin. Okay, I've got this idea. Before we go to the ACD, because you and I are going to be hanging out in the Discord here in a few. Before we do that, I want to read a comment that somebody left on a video for you. And then maybe you could read a comment that somebody has left about me, and we could just, okay. So I've got this one, and I think it's really good. You were talking about how religion does not improve mental health in your eyes. Is that still a stance you take? You still think that?
Well, I would say actually it's harmful to mental health.
Yeah. I'd say I'm in the same boat, but let's see. Do we have that screenshot? Can we get a screenshot number What number is this? 6. I'm saying that only for our wonderful crew. I should have typed that in the chat, but didn't. Anyway, Armin was disputing the notion that religion improves mental health. And this commenter says, the guy who jumps straight to insult, religion is toxic. Gaslight much, kiddo? What do you have to say to that, Armin? Do you have any,
I don't
thoughts
know.
on that?
Straight to insult?
Yeah, they're saying that the phrase that you use, okay, I have heard you use this, and I'm going to put your feet to the fire here, Armin. I am holding you accountable for your words. You have said in the past, religion is toxic. Now defend yourself.
I mean, if you're insulted by the reality, then that's your problem. I don't think like just expressing what is true. If you consider that insult, that just shows how, I don't know, that shows how sensitive you are. I don't think that's, I wasn't even, you haven't seen me at trying to be insulting. Like this is not, oh my God. I feel sorry for you. I don't know what, if you will be able to survive. Oh my God, this was an insult to you? You poor thing. I don't know how you managed to make it this long in life.
I don't know. I think it messed him up, man. I think it did. Yeah. Do you have one? Do you have one for me? Do you have
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
What you got?
Okay. So let's go with number. This is brutal. Are you sure you can take it? I
don't know, to be honest. I have no idea, but I'm here for it. We're doing it live, and you know, if I just break down on camera,
this is an email. You showed me a comment. I have an email. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is number 2.
Okay.
We don't have a screenshot for.
We do.
We do. You guys are prepared. Right? Okay.
Nice.
It's saying, "Hi, I'm trying to watch the latest episode on YouTube, and it's becoming almost impossible as the callers can't seem to get hardly a single sentence out. It saddens me that SR's enormous mouth and ego, really, is making what was once an informative and entertaining video an embarrassment. Wow. SR needs a break. A year, or I think it says a year of 2, but I think they mean a year or 2. A year or 2 would probably be appropriate. Maybe some therapy would help him. Best regards. Yes. Oh, something is okay. So the name.
I didn't put the name up.
What do you think?
Thank you.
What do you think?
Well, I want to say first off, thank you for reaching out to us. For anybody that is unfamiliar, we do have a way for you to hit us up by email. It's just tv@atheist-community.org. And thank you to Justin, who is often the guy that is reading those emails. But I would just say I am a big fan of more people going to therapy. So I don't know. I guess maybe I agree with this statement. I don't know. It was pretty good. Wow. It made me laugh. I'm just happy that you were engaged enough by my enormous mouth and ego to shoot us a message. So I'm just thrilled. If you want to say mean things about me or Armin, why not send us an email or a super chat sometime? Like, I would gladly read, any super chat that just shits on me. I'd gladly do it. I think it's great. So come up with your
last thing I think of when I think of this stuff. Yeah, but the ego. Like when it comes to insults for SR, the last thing I think of is ego.
Yeah, right. like loud and rambly, like totally like laughs too fucking much, can barely keep his mouth shut. Like all fair points. But I like I said, send us a super chat with all the mean things that you want to say next time I'm on, and we'll read them, or I'll make the co-host read them, because that's fun too. Because then it can just be like Armin saying
maybe ego when it comes to telling somebody who has a big ego, at least say that to me, not as like I'm so full of myself. I keep celebrating myself. I keep telling people how awesome I am. It's SR. I don't know, like, why SR? That is so unfair. That is so unfair.
I'll take it. I'll wear it. I'll wear it proudly, as I would my scarlet letter for being the whore that I am. I will take it. I will take it, folks. But if you haven't gotten enough of my ego or Armin's ego, maybe you're saying to yourself, gosh damn it, I want more. Well, good news is there's a couple of different places you can find that, because we got this whole like AXP and Talk Heathen 24/7 streams. You can go check those out. You'll find us on there every so often. And you can also just come join us in the Discord, the ACD, right after this show. But don't forget that the prompt for this week is name a time God unfairly blamed someone, and get your answer in the comments section below the video, and it might be read at the beginning of next week's episode. Armin, I always have such a good time whenever we're hanging out together,
Yes,
man.
yes.
It is always so freaking much fun here. And I just want to let you all know, again, maybe Armin and I have figured out all of the world's problems, but maybe we haven't. And just in case we haven't, just in case we haven't gotten them all, why not tune in next week, 4:30 p.m. Central Time, and every Sunday after that, because we'll be doing it. And until then, make sure to be as blasphemous and heathenous and, I don't know, debaucherous. What other terrible thing could you do? Go be an atheist in the world and share your experience.
March 23rd, post something on social media.
Yep,
March
Atheist Day.
23rd. Guys, you could use a symbol. The symbol is a green circle. You could
Very
draw
easy.
the green circle on your hand or on a paper or somewhere that you're allowed, or just a hashtag atheist, a happy atheist day on, I don't know, Facebook, X, Instagram, wherever you're active. Okay, if you're a YouTuber, make a YouTube video about it. Just make sure March 23rd you do something on Atheist Day, just so that people know that there's a ton of us out there and we ain't going anywhere. Okay, that's the important message here. Okay,
That's right.
Normalize this Atheist Day. Normalize atheism.
Fuck yeah. See you next Sunday.
Bye, guys.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.